Welcome back. With the COVID-19 pandemic showing no signs of dissipating and perhaps even escalating, school systems are caught between offering the benefits of on-site learning versus the reality and necessity for a virtual option. But remote learning comes with drawbacks and challenges for some at-risk and low-income students and their families, exposing a digital divide. The Pew Research Center found that more than a quarter of all Americans don't have high-speed internet access at home. Before the pandemic, 1 in 3 U.S. teens had to do their homework on a cell phone, while 1 in 5 were unable to complete their homework because they lacked a computer, according to Pew. 1 in 4 students from low-income families under $30,000 a year who had a computer were sometimes unable to complete their homework because of connectivity issues. And many of those students needing to use public Wi-Fi like libraries, which are now closed. Well, joining us today is Mark Scribner. He's the managing director and CFO at Boston-based Oxygen Financial. He's here to talk with us about some of the hidden costs of virtual schooling. Welcome, Mark. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Talk to us a little bit more about how virtual schooling is going to impact family finances this fall.
Yeah, that graphic that you just put out there is very interesting. I read Boston Public Schools had something like 20% of their school population virtual dropouts May 1st. So there's a lot of people that aren't actually being able to connect, whether that be for computers and costs, et cetera. But 1 in 4 students just dropped out online in May, which is pretty concerning.
So what are some of the specific challenges that low-income households may face?
So, the big thing is daycare. So if you can find daycare right now, a lot of these centers have closed down, unfortunately. But, you have to understand that what the rules of engagement would be for your job. I mean, how is it going to be viewed if your child jumps on your lap while you're at a Zoom or Skype meeting? So there's cost. And if you can't, do a complete full workday or you're an essential worker, you have income issues that will come up if you're going to try to help your kid stay online. And so that's really one of the biggest things is daycare is extremely expensive under normal circumstances. So a lot of parents have gone to try to figure out micro schooling or pod schooling where they're kind of joining up and assigning tasks or days where someone can work, but then they'll get some teaching at the same time.
And micro schooling, pod schooling, how much does that cost?
So this is free. This would be a group of people getting together and sharing the services and the burden, whether that be internet or computers and things like that, just trying to pool together for resources and try to get the job done.
Sounds like a very creative way to get around some of this.
Yeah, it really is. And, there are resources too. I mean, some of the internet service providers that are out there, I know AT&T, for example, right now has a $10 per month high-speed internet option that also has a SNAP nutrition program that's attached to it. But a lot of the big internet providers that are out there are offering low cost for internet. Some have free internet. But I would say that any of your lower income families, they should be reaching out to the school to find out, for example, what computers are available. There's grants and there's all kinds of technology initiatives that are out there. So if you don't have a computer, which is very much the norm for most people have 1 or 2 computers, but if you're working trying to Zoom in for a business meeting, you can't share that computer. That kid's just not going to be able to do their schoolwork.
And then there's issues about bandwidth, and if more than one device is on the Wi-Fi at home, often students and parents can't operate in the same space. That's another issue, I would think.
Yes, 100%. Bandwidth, the internet can be $40, $50, $60 and up a month. And so there are programs out there. You can go, like I said, to AT&T or any of the big providers out there, and they have packages and programs for lower income earners. And I would definitely look at that for bandwidth.
Do you predict that some of the disparities faced by families, those that have and those that have not, might play out in an education gap at some point?
Nobody knows what the future looks like, but if we're on the same path, I can see it definitely getting exacerbated. If you look at right now, Massachusetts, for example, is ranked 8th in the country for unemployment. But then you look in areas like, for example, say Revere or Brockton, that unemployment rate is in the high 20s right now. So, and then coupled again with the reality that a lot of students checked out May 1st, and 20% of the population just virtually dropped out of school. And then a lot of times these students rely very heavily on nutrition when they go to school, and they're not getting that, so there's extra cost around that if they're at home, and it just goes on and on, I think, as this continues.
Mark, I want to thank you for being here today and giving us some insight. You've put together some links to some resources for students and families that may need assistance with technology for virtual learning to make sure that there is not an education gap. You can find those links on our CityLine webpage on WCVB.com. Up next, how will students adapt to a structured school environment after a summer of open protest? Stay with us.